The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 86.
So we have this legendary trickster figure walking into a hyper-capitalist spiritual machine. Because the text explicitly tells us right out of the gate that this Iron Buddha temple is reeking of demonic energy.
Yes, literally reeking of it. It's not subtle.
No, not at all. It's not just a corrupt institution. It is literally being run by a demon masquerading as a deity. And the bureaucracy of it is just wild to me.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah. The fact that there are separate accounting desks for silver and copper means the monks are actively sorting worshippers by socioeconomic class, like before they even reach the altar.
Precisely. The spatial organization of the temple tells you everything you need to know about its priorities. The money comes first.
Right.
And into this highly segregated environment walk two very different women, and they're both seeking a cure for the exact same illness.
And it's a pretty brutal illness too, isn't it?
It is. The illness is dropsy, or edema, which is described in the text as severe swelling and fluid retention. Yeah, in an era without modern medicine, this was a terrifying, deeply uncomfortable, and often fatal condition. So a seemingly miraculous temple cure would be the absolute last resort for a desperate family.
Right. They're completely out of options.
Exactly. And the author uses these two women as, case studies for how this demonic bureaucracy processes human desperation.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the first woman is named Yao Shi. And the narrative does not hold back on judging her appearance at all.
Oh, not even a little bit.
Right. It describes her as heavily made up. Her hair is oiled and shiny as a mirror, a face full of rouge and powder. The text literally uses a phrase that translates to dressed unlike a good person.
Yeah, she is visually coded as someone entangled in the superficial material world.
Definitely. And she's there seeking a cure for her in-law.
And her interaction with the Iron Buddha is so revealing because the Buddha speaks directly to her with a human voice, entirely bypassing the need for a priest to interpret.
Which is kind of creepy, honestly.
Very. And the interaction is purely transactional. The statue literally asks if she brought a string of cash. She says yes.
It's just straight to business.
Exactly. The statue tells her to leave the money on the desk, gives her a packet of medicine, and guarantees a cure. The exchange is utterly devoid of spiritual weight. I mean, it is a simple purchase.
It's basically a spiritual vending machine. Put the coins in, get the grace out.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But then we see the second woman, Lu Li Shi. And she is the structural opposite of Yao Shi, right?
Completely. She is described as a virtuous, filial daughter-in-law. Her husband has been away trading for years with no word, and she is caring for her sick mother-in-law in absolute grinding poverty.
And her journey there is just heartbreaking. She walked for a day and a night to get to this temple, bowing and kowtowing with every single step along the road.
The physical toll of that kind of pilgrimage is just staggering to think about.
Yeah, I mean, her knees must have been bleeding.
Oh, absolutely. It is the ultimate display of religious piety. She is sacrificing her physical body to generate spiritual merit for her family.
But she arrives penniless.
Yes. And when she begs the Iron Buddha for medicine and explains her total lack of funds, the demon inside the statue flat out refuses her.
And the wording here is so cold.
It is incredibly telling. It tells her the Buddha doesn't do credit.
Wow. It applies the terminology of a literal loan shark to a divine entity.
Yeah, which absolutely shatters her. She leaves the hall completely disillusioned. She's thinking to herself, I don't blame the human world for being snobbish, but even the Buddha loves wealth.
That is so sad. Her devotion, her literal physical suffering on the road meant absolutely nothing to this institution, just because it couldn't be quantified in copper or silver.
And what's fascinating here is where the text peels back a layer, because on the surface, it looks like the demon is just greedy, right? Like a dragon hoarding wealth. But the narrative reveals the demon's internal logic in that exact moment. The text explains that the demon realizes it didn't cause the mother-in-law's illness in the first place, so it actually lacks the power to cure it.
Wait, really? So it's not just that the demon won't cure her because she's poor. It literally can't. Its power is completely fraudulent.
Exactly. This changes the entire dynamic of the scene. The demon can only, quote-unquote, cure the illnesses that it secretly inflicted on people in the first place.
Oh my God, it's a racket.
It is a supernatural protection racket. It makes people sick, demands payment, and then removes the curse, so it looks like a miracle worker.
Wow.
But when faced with a genuine, naturally occurring illness like the mother-in-law's, the demon is totally powerless.
So it uses the language of bureaucratic capitalism, like we don't do credit, as a shield. It's covering up its own lack of genuine divine power.
Right. It blames the victim's lack of resources for its own failure to provide the promised service.
Okay, that reframes the entire concept of institutional corruption in this story. Because the accounting desks aren't just there to collect money. They're there to establish a barrier to entry so the demon doesn't have to expose its own limitations.
Yeah, it's a filtration system.
Exactly. It's like a modern, corrupt VIP healthcare system, or, I don't know, a pay-to-play mobile game. If everyone has to pay, fewer people get through, and the illusion of power is just way easier to maintain.
That is a great analogy.
But I have to ask, is the text implying that institutionalized religion itself is a scam? Or is this just a targeted critique of this one specific demonic iteration of it? Because having accountants for specific metals feels like a very sharp observation of actual historical practices.
You know, the author is walking a very fine line there. By making the antagonist a literal demon possessing a statue, they create plausible deniability.
Oh, I see. So they can't get in trouble.
Right. They aren't explicitly stating that Buddhism is a scam. They're stating that this specific temple has been hijacked. However, the socioeconomic critique is undeniable.
Because temples are wealthy, right?
Oh, massively. During various periods of Chinese history, temples amassed huge amounts of wealth, land, and political power. Some became major economic engines. They functioned almost like regional banks.
Wow. So the author is holding a mirror up to that reality.
Precisely. They're suggesting that when a spiritual center prioritizes its accounting over the genuine piety of a walking pilgrim, it has lost its heavenly mandate. The physical space might still look like a temple, but the ecosystem inside is fundamentally demonic.
That is heavy. So the system is utterly rigged, and the illusion is protected by this massive bureaucracy. To dismantle something that entrenched, you don't just need a powerful hero, you need a disruptor.
Yes, a chaotic element.
Right, you need someone who refuses to play by the established rules of the space. And enter Ji Gong, because he has been watching this entire interaction from the sidelines.
He has. And his intervention happens in two distinct phases. The first phase is this act of quiet, subversive compassion. He sees Liu Lixi's virtue in her heartbreak, and as she is leaving, he quietly stops her and just hands her a piece of medicine for her mother-in-law. He completely bypasses the temple's corrupt bureaucracy.
So he doesn't ask for a kowtow, and he doesn't ask for a coin.
Nope. He simply provides the grace that the institution denied her.
I love that. He steps outside the transactional model entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But once he has addressed the human collateral, he turns his attention to the institution itself.
And this is where the methodology of the trickster really takes center stage.
Right, because he doesn't just attack. Ji Gong strolls into the main hall, right up to the massive 12-foot-tall golden iron Buddha, and this thing is sitting on a 5-foot lotus throne.
It's an imposing figure.
Totally. This is the sacred, untouchable center of the temple. And instead of unleashing some grand magical attack, he casually reaches onto the sacred altar, picks up an apple and a peach from the offerings, and just starts chewing on them.
It's brilliant. And the temple attendants immediately react with outrage, as you expect. The monk whose job is to strike the prayer bowl yells at him for stealing from the Buddha.
And Ji Gong's response is just perfect. He cuts right to the core of the temple's hypocrisy.
He really does. He essentially tells them that food in a temple is meant to be eaten. And he mocks them by saying they rely on the Buddha for their food and clothes, acting like the Buddha's ungrateful children and grandchildren.
He is highlighting the parasitic nature of the priesthood that runs the desks. Like, you guys are the real thieves here.
Exactly.
And when the attendant gets angry enough to physically attack him, Ji Gong just points a finger and hits him with a freezing spell. The text calls it the Ding Shen Fa.
Yes, the Ding Shen Fa. The attendant is instantly locked in place.
And then Ji Gong escalates the disrespect to a whole new level. He physically climbs onto the sacred 5-foot lotus throne, stands face to face with his massive golden demon statue, and slaps it twice across the face.
It is a profound desecration of the false idol.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand why this is so effective, we have to look at the mechanics of belief and power in this universe.
Okay, lay it on me.
So why doesn't Ji Gong just blast the statue with divine light, right?
Yeah, that would be the standard fantasy hero move.
Exactly. But he doesn't, because the demon's power in that specific moment is heavily derived from the reverence, the fear, and the financial compliance of the crowd.
Oh, I see.
The worshippers are kneeling, terrified of the deity's wrath, handing over their life savings.
So if the demon is feeding on their fear and compliance, a big magical battle would just reinforce the idea that the demon is a powerful terrifying god worthy of their fear.
Precisely. It would validate the demon's status. By eating the fruit, Jigong demonstrates to the crowd that the sacred offerings are literally just ordinary fruit.
Right.
And by slapping the statue, he proves it is just inanimate metal. He strips the false idol of its manufactured dignity.
Wow, yeah. You cannot fear a deity that just got publicly slapped in the face by a disheveled guy chewing on a stolen peach.
No, you can't. He isn't fighting the demon physically yet. He is fighting the psychological architecture that sustains the demon's authority. He is breaking the spell of institutional invincibility.
That is such an incredibly effective tactic. It really makes me think of how authority functions in modern, highly rigid systems.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if an institution relies heavily on ceremony and titles and imposing architecture to maintain its power, the most dangerous threat to that institution isn't a direct attack.
No, it's ridicule.
Right, is someone refusing to take the ceremony seriously. It's like a whistleblower who doesn't just leak documents, but crashes the corrupt CEO's banquet and starts eating their caviar just to prove they are untouchable. Once the curtain is pulled back and the wizard is just a guy pulling levers, the illusion can't be put back together. The aura is shattered.
That's spot on. The aura is shattered, yes. But the physical threat definitely remains. The demon inside the statue is not going to take this humiliation passively.
I would assume not.
Right. Once the psychological warfare reaches its peak with the slap, the situation devolves instantly into physical chaos.
Yeah, things escalate quickly. The text describes the statue's stomach rumbling like thunder. Then, with a sound like a collapsing mountain, the massive 12-foot solid gold and iron body topples straight forward, right onto Jigong.
Just completely crushes him.
Yeah. The narrative strongly implies that he is crushed instantly, flattened into meat paste underneath tons of metal. And this triggers a reaction from the bystanders that is just absolutely fascinating, specifically from the 4 constables who accompanied Jigong to the temple.
Yes, this part is so interesting. Chai Yuanlu, Du Zening, Yang Guodong, and Yan Shixiong.
Right.
And their reactions offer a very grounded, deeply human counterpoint to the magical escalation we just witnessed. When the statue falls and seemingly crushes their master, Chai and Du start crying bitterly. They stamp their feet and wail.
Which is normal.
Yes. But Yang Guodong looks at the wreckage and essentially says, well, everyone has a place to be born and a place to die. It can't be helped. Let's go.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on this. If these constables are his sworn guards or companions, how does that reaction make any narrative sense?
It does seem strange.
One of them literally says, "It's fate, let's bounce while the dust is still settling." It feels incredibly cynical, almost like a plot hole just to get them out of the way.
What does this say about the human characters in this story? Why would the author write his companions to be so instantly dismissive of his apparent death?
It feels very jarring to a modern reader, for sure. We are conditioned to expect a Fellowship of the Ring level of unwavering loyalty in these kinds of stories.
Right, they should be digging through the rubble with their bare hands.
Exactly. But within the context of this specific genre of Chinese vernacular fiction, it serves a very specific thematic purpose.
Okay.
The author is actively contrasting the transcendent, enlightened nature of Jigong with the very flawed, heavily conditioned nature of everyday mortal people.
The constables represent the average person's relationship with the miraculous. They are easily impressed when things go well, easily frightened when things go wrong, and ultimately deeply concerned with their own survival and convenience.
So they aren't meant to be evil or treacherous. They just represent the limits of ordinary human endurance in the face of the supernatural.
Exactly. Their quick mourning and even quicker resignation highlight just how isolated Jigong really is in his spiritual undertaking. He is operating on a cosmological plane that they cannot even fathom.
Right, they're just not on his level.
No. To them, a falling statue is just a fatal industrial accident. Time to wrap up the investigation. They lack the spiritual vision to see the broader conflict, so their ordinariness is the foil to his enlightenment.
That actually frames their reaction in a completely different light. They're just regular guys who signed up for a law enforcement job and suddenly they're in the middle of a demonic turf war.
Pretty much.
But of course, the grief and the pragmatism are both premature. Because while they are debating their exit strategy, Jigong just casually strolls into the hall from outside the temple.
Yes.
He walks right up to the morning constables and asks, are you guys reporting a death?
The comedic timing of that line is masterful. I mean, they are staring at what they believe is his pulverized body, and he interrupts their grief to ask about paperwork.
And when they ask him how he survived, his explanation is brilliantly understated. He just says, I got scared, kicked my legs, and jumped out.
Like, it's nothing.
Right. Like, it was the most natural thing in the world to outmaneuver tons of falling iron at point-blank range. It's almost like watching a classic cartoon moment, like Bugs Bunny stepping out of the way of a falling anvil at the last possible second.
Yes, exactly like that.
But the stakes are entirely deadly here. He doesn't need a massive magical energy shield to protect himself. He just needs to occupy the 2 inches of space where the iron isn't. It is the physical manifestation of his trickster nature. He's fluid, elusive, and completely unbothered by brute force.
But that trickster evasion triggers a terrifying escalation.
Right, because the demon is watching all of this.
Yes. The demon realizes that the physical booby trap failed, and the comedic tone of the scene evaporates instantly.
Oh yeah, the vibe completely shifts.
The narrative describes a massive, sudden windstorm hitting the temple, and the environmental descriptions shift from the confined space of the temple hall to this massive atmospheric scale.
It's cinematic.
Very. Clouds roll in violently, the wind howls through the trees, waves rise on the sea, and stones sink. The text says the universe darkens, startling even ghosts and gods. The sky goes black, and the demon physically drops from the heavens to surround Ji Gong.
The shift in scale is massive. We go from a localized dispute over accounting desks and a stolen peach to a meteorological event that is literally altering the atmosphere.
It's a huge jump in stakes.
It is. And to understand the sheer scale of this storm and to comprehend what kind of entity just dropped out of the sky, the narrative actually hits the pause button.
Right, we get a flashback.
Yeah, we rewind, and the story shifts both geographically and chronologically to give us the origin of this darkness. We move away from the Iron Buddha Temple to look at a hostile takeover that happened on ancient Heaven Mountain.
And here's where we are introduced to the backstory of the villainous ecosystem. We meet a character named Huaqing Feng.
Okay.
He is known as the Nine Palaces Taoist. He is the master of the Golden-Eyed Buddha, which is the demon we've just seen dropping from the sky. And he is the uncle of another antagonist named Hua Yanlang.
Got it.
But the crucial detail the text provides about Huaqing Feng is his methodology. He is a practitioner of left-hand magic known as Zuo Dao.
Okay, wait. What exactly does the left-hand path entail in this cosmological framework? Because if there is a left hand, there must be a right-hand right. How do they differ in practice?
That's a great question. In traditional Chinese cosmology and cultivation practices, the right-hand path generally refers to orthodox, righteous cultivation.
The good guys.
Right. It involves aligning yourself with the natural flow of the Tao, acting in accordance with nature, cultivating profound moral virtue, and seeking enlightenment or immortality through centuries of rigorous discipline, meditation, and purity.
So it's a marathon.
Exactly. It is a slow, harmonious integration with the universe.
And the left-hand path is the opposite of that harmony.
The left-hand path, the Zuo Dao, is entirely about shortcuts.
Ah, I see.
It involves manipulating forces, often dark, destructive, or demonic forces, for immediate personal gain, power, and wealth. A practitioner of the left-hand path doesn't care about harmony with the universe. They care about forcing the universe to bend to their will.
Wow.
It is inherently selfish, parasitic, and ultimately destructive to both the practitioner and their environment.
And Huaqing Feng is clearly deeply entrenched in this parasitic methodology, because the text tells us he murdered a legitimate, righteous Taoist named Huang specifically to steal his territory.
Yes, it was completely premeditated.
He targeted the Lingxiao Temple on ancient Heaven Mountain purely because it was a wealthy, successful location. He executed a literal hostile takeover, utilizing murder and dark magic to acquire spiritual real estate.
And this brings us to a really fascinating ecological and architectural detail in the story that illustrates the consequences of the left-hand path.
Yeah, this part is so eerie.
On this mountain, there is a structure called the Smoke Cloud Pagoda, or the Yan Yun Ta. Historically, this pagoda was a sacred marvel.
It sounded beautiful.
It was. The text explains that after a heavy rain, smoke or mystical vapor would rise from the cracks in the ancient bricks at the base of the pagoda and float up into the sky, forming beautiful clouds.
That's gorgeous.
Right. It was a localized mystical phenomenon that attracted wealthy tourists and pilgrims. It represented the area's natural spiritual vitality.
It was a thriving ecosystem. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because after Huaqing Feng murders the righteous Taoist and assumes control of the temple, the pagoda reacts.
It does.
The environment immediately changes. The beautiful smoke completely stops. The clouds disappear. Instead, Huaqing Feng notices a new, highly disturbing phenomenon. Birds will fly into the upper levels of the pagoda, but they never fly out.
Yes.
And when he walks around the base of the structure, the ground is just littered with thousands of bird feathers.
This specific detail raises an important question about how sacred geography functions in this literary universe. A holy place isn't just a passive bedding made of stone and wood, right? It is an active node of spiritual energy,
Okay.
and it is deeply connected to the moral alignment of its steward. When the stewardship of that node changes hands, when a righteous practitioner who nurtures life is violently replaced by a corrupt practitioner who takes life, the physical and magical properties of the environment react and adapt to the new resonance.
So the pagoda shifts from being a generator of life and beauty to a consumer of life. It's like a mechanical trap designed by nature itself to reflect the new management.
Exactly.
If we think about this mechanically, it's like, okay, imagine a beautiful historic theater in the center of a neighborhood, and it's bought out by an organized crime syndicate.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. The art, the music, the community joy is instantly sucked out of the building. The doors are locked, the windows are boarded up, and it becomes a dark, menacing black hole in the middle of the street where illital activities happen and people disappear.
Yeah, a complete transformation of purpose.
Exactly. The physical structure is exactly the same, but the energy flowing through it has been completely inverted. Hua Qingfeng is basically a mob boss doing a hostile takeover of a beloved local landmark, only for the landmark to turn into a literal black hole under his terrible management.
That is exactly the mechanism at play. Hua Qingfeng thought he was just acquiring profitable real estate, but he actually corrupted the spiritual ecosystem of the mountain.
And the craziest part is, he doesn't even know what's causing it.
Right. The most revealing aspect of this sequence is that Hua Qingfeng himself doesn't even know what is inside the pagoda eating the birds. He is the master of the temple, a powerful dark magician who murdered his way to the top, and yet he is completely confused by the feathers on the ground.
Which indicates that he is not actually at the top of the food chain.
Not even close.
He may have stolen the temple, but he unwittingly moved into a space that was already occupied by something much older and much darker than his own human malice, which sets up his encounter with this ancient entity.
Yes, the meeting.
So Hua Qingfeng is standing outside the pagoda one day, staring at the feathers, when he hears a voice behind him say, "Boundless Buddha." He turns around and sees a strange guest who claims to have been living quietly in the temple for 6 months without Hua ever noticing. This is Taoist Chang.
And the physical description of Taoist Chang is meticulously crafted. It's meant to signal to the reader, and eventually to Hua, that this is not a human being.
What does he look like again?
The text describes him wearing a blue-black robe. His face is the color of blue mud.
Blue mud, wow.
Yeah. He has cinnabar, or bright red, eyebrows, golden eyes, and a full red beard.
That is a striking look.
It is. And in Chinese theatrical tradition, esoteric lore, and folklore, this specific color palette, blue skin, red hair, golden eyes, is the universal visual shorthand for a non-human entity. It denotes a powerful demon, a fierce spirit of nature, or a wrathful deity.
Okay, so Hua Qingfeng doesn't immediately recognize what he's dealing with. So he asks the stranger about his background and how long he's been cultivating his magic.
Yeah.
And Chang drops some of the most staggering historical references imaginable.
He really casually name-drops history.
He casually states, "I personally saw King Wen of Zhou recruit Lei Zhenzi, and when Jiang Ziya was conferring the titles of the gods, I was late and missed it."
To understand the weight of that statement, we have to look at the timeline. Chang is referencing key events from the classic mytho-historical narrative, the investiture of the gods.
Right.
That epic is set at the turbulent fall of the Shang dynasty and the rise of the Zhou dynasty. Historically, that places those events around 1046 BCE.
Okay, and when does this story take place?
Well, a Jigong, our main character, lives in the Southern Song dynasty, which is the 12th century CE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Taoist Chang is casually claiming to have been actively walking the earth, participating in major mythological events over 2,000 years ago. He is impossibly ancient.
Wait, is he actually bragging, or is he just stating facts when he name drops ancient kings?
He's just stating facts. It's his frame of reference.
That is wild. So if you asked him what century it was, his frame of reference is entirely different from a human's. It's like talking to a geologist who measures time in tectonic shifts rather than, election cycles.
Yes.
Human dynasties rising and falling are just weather to him. He isn't trying to intimidate Hua Qingfeng with a boast. He is simply stating his age, using the only historical landmarks that actually matter to an entity of his lifespan. It's like someone casually mentioning they were busy the day the asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs.
Exactly. And that realization hits Hua Qingfeng immediately. Despite being a ruthless practitioner of the left-hand path, Hua is competent enough to recognize when he is entirely out of his depth.
He knows he's outclassed.
He understands that Chang is a demon of unimaginable age and power, but because Hua is already corrupted, he doesn't attempt to exorcise the demon or flee. He embraces the opportunity.
Typical bad guy move. So they become fast friends. They spend their time drinking wine, discussing esoteric magic, and sharing secrets.
A regular demonic boys' club.
Right. And Hua realizes that this ancient demon's magic, like the ability to call the wind, summon rain, and command spirits, is vastly superior to his own human capabilities. After a long period of this camaraderie, Hua's curiosity gets the better of him. They are drinking, the atmosphere is intimate, and Hua asks for a massive favor. He says, "We've been friends for a long time. Can I see your true form?"
And Chang agrees to the request, but his agreement comes with a highly specific, non-negotiable cosmological condition.
Which is so interesting.
He tells Hua that he can only reveal his true form in the very narrow window of time when the stars have completely faded from the night sky, but the sun has not yet risen above the horizon.
Like pitch black.
It must occur in that brief, absolute void of darkness.
Hua asks why, and the reason Chang reveals the entire structure of the universe in this story. He says, "We cultivators fear the three lights."
The sun, the moon, and the stars.
Yeah. He says, if we are illuminated by the three lights, we risk triggering a heavenly lightning tribulation.
This refers to the Leijie, or lightning tribulation. This is a foundational concept in Chinese cultivation lore and Taoist mythology that explains how the universe maintains balance.
Okay, break that down for me.
The underlying philosophy is that the universe has a natural order, right? A cosmic equilibrium. Entities like Taoist Chang, who manipulate the natural order to live for thousands of years and accumulate massive unnatural amounts of power, are an affront to that equilibrium.
They're cheating the system.
Exactly. They are anomalies in the system.
Right.
Therefore, the heavens, the universe itself, acts like an immune system.
So the three lights, the sun, the moon, and the stars, act as the universe's radar, or its eyes.
Precisely. If a demon of Chang's magnitude exposes its true, terrifying form to the light of the sun, moon, or stars, the heavens will instantly spot the anomaly. The universe's white blood cells, in the form of targeted catastrophic lightning strikes, will immediately hunt down and destroy the entity to correct the error in the system.
That concept completely shifts how we view Taoist Chang. I mean, he is this ancient, godlike being with immense power, but he lives his entire existence in a state of constant existential terror of the sky.
Yes, it's a very anxious existence.
He is forced to hide in the cracks of reality, taking shelter inside the corrupted pagoda, only able to drop his disguise in the few brief minutes before dawn. The universe is actively hunting him.
It really highlights the supreme hubris of Hua Qingfeng, too.
How so?
Well, Hua is a man who murdered a priest, stole a temple, and genuinely believed he was the apex predator of the mountain. He thought he was playing the game of power at the highest conceivable level. And then he realizes he is merely sharing a house with a cosmic horror that is engaged in a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek with the universe itself.
Yeah, that'll humble you real quick.
Hua is an ant standing next to a dinosaur, completely oblivious to the meteor overhead.
Which sets up the terrifying cliffhanger of this chapter perfectly. Because Hua Qingfeng decides to follow the instructions. He tells his servant to wake him at the third watch, waiting until the absolute darkest part of the night.
He's fully committed.
Yeah, he waits until the stars fade. He opens the back door of his stolen temple, looks north toward the mountain peak where Chang instructed him to look, and the text says he sees something so horrifying, so deeply wrong, that he violently shudders.
Just a visceral reaction.
He physically recoils from whatever cosmic nightmare is standing on the mountain peak in the pitch black. And the chapter ends right there, without ever describing what he saw.
It is a masterful use of narrative restraint. By refusing to describe the true form, the author leaves the horror entirely up to the imagination of the reader, which is, always more effective.
Absolutely. The unseen monster is always scarier.